let's deep dive now into the development discourse. How to balance welfare economy and growth in the pandemic hit economy. Can I please invite Kaushik Deka, Deputy Editor, India Today, to introduce the topic and his panelists.
Welcome to this special show of India Today Conclave, State of the State Conclave 2021. And this is a very special conclave because for a change, we would not be scrutinizing or criticizing government and their functionaries. We would be rather celebrating their performances across various parameters. We will be brainstorming about the future roadmap, and we will also try to instill a competitive sense, healthy competition among the states. And I have two very special guests. One is Tamil Nadu Finance Secretary, Mr. M. Muruganandam, and we have also with us Mr. Hemant Sharma, Principal Secretary Finance, Odhisa. Welcome, gentlemen, to this very special show. My first question would be to both of you. You could answer one after one. Mr. Muruganandam first. I'm not too sure whether we should call it post-pandemic time, but still the states are now gradually, the entire country gradually returning to normalcy. And now the states are faced with twin challenges. One is to revamp the economy because the corona has devastated the economy to a great way, and also to provide relief to people, those who have faced the issues because of the devastated economy, and also many other livelihood issues because of this pandemic. So it creates a problem for the state machinery because you have to revive the economy. At the same time, you have to provide relief, which commonly known as doles or welfare schemes. So how are the states balancing these two, in a way, contradictory goals, objectives? So, Mr. Muruganandam, first, I would like to know from you how Tamil Nadu is managing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you that we are facing twin challenges. See, on the one hand, we have to actually provide relief and also care to the people who have been affected by the COVID pandemic. And at the same time, we'll have to ensure that the growth doesn't suffer, that the wheels of the economy keep turning. So this is a real challenge because of this pandemic. For example, as a state, we have incurred almost 24,500 crores so far in relief. Say this is to buy medicines, to provide food items, then to get some medical equipment, PPE kits, and all kinds of things, because this pandemic has been there in two phases. So almost 24,500 crores is the expenditure. At the same time, our revenues have come down because there were complete shutdown. So all activities came to a standstill, all shops are closed. So roughly around 20% has been the loss in revenue as compared to our budgeted estimates. It was there last year and it was there this year also. So it's a sort of double whammy. On the one hand, you don't have the resources, or resources have gone down. On the other hand, you have to incur higher expenditure. But we are a welfare state, and Tamil Nadu believes that by spending money on health, education, and on social sectors, it will actually, we don't call it goals, it will actually help in reviving the economy, and in the long run, it will benefit the state. And this has happened, and we are very convinced about our model. While we have been the state has been very concerned and has provided all the relief to the people, we have also focused on capital expenditure. Like last year, we spent around 32,000 crores on capital expenditure because we wanted to revive the economy. So kinds of roads, buildings, and other important infrastructure projects have been taken. And this year, till last month, we have spent around 90,000 crores on capital expenditure. Even during the lockdown period, we ensured that the essential sectors continue to function. And we have taken a lot of steps to improve the ease of doing business. So last year, we could get around 80,000 crores in terms of new investment. And this year, our new government has come and we have been able to attract around 55,000 crores. And even today, the Honorable Chief Minister is attending a major function in Coimbatore where MOUs for 35,000 crores of investment, new investment, are being signed.
Over to Mr. Sharma, how Odisha is actually trying to manage this contradiction between these two very tough goals.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kaushik. And in fact, my colleague, Mr. Muruganandam, has very ably and succinctly put across the views. Primarily, Odisha also had these twin challenges of managing the extra expenditure which came on account of COVID while facing a situation of reduced finances, reduced revenues, and also anticipated the uncertainties associated with COVID were overwhelming. In fact, nobody could foresee last year when the disease would come to a stop, when the life would come back to normal. So the uncertainty associated with normalcy returning and when the normalcy would be able to return, the governments found it difficult. Most of the state governments were finding it difficult to plan for infrastructure, to plan for continued expenses and all. Fortunately, in Odisha, while we in the initial phases, we did put a stop to all the what is called recurrent revenue nature of expenditure while keeping the capital expenditure on infrastructure intact, because that gives wage security to the people. Therefore, it was essential to keep the capital expense going while curtailing the non-essential revenue nature of expenses. This was one of the strategies we adopted. See, three important entitlements. I mean, our Honorable Chief Minister made it very clear in the beginning, and his mantra is, every life matters. So this was the motto of the government while facing the COVID challenge, and all hands on board, entire resources were commandeered to meet the health disaster. The health challenge was the most important challenge which we wanted to meet. So every life matters means we needed to give three securities to the people of the state. Number one was the health security. Our government decided very early on that every expense on account of treatment would be met by the government. So for every citizen, whether the treatment is in Apollo or in Amri or a government hospital or a PHC, everything was borne by the state government. Boarding, lodging, ICU charges, ambulance charges, medicines, any treatment at any level, including very costly ECMO treatments outside the state, were also borne by the government. Now, this while giving a confidence to every citizen that the state government is with you in this hour of crisis and unprecedented kind of event, it also definitely put a pressure on the state's resources. Initially, we did curtail non-essential revenue expenditure, but fortunately for Odisha, simultaneously, one good thing happened, which was the commodity prices started increasing. And since we were able to keep the essential industry going, for us, most essential industry being the mineral industry, the metallurgical industry, the huge metal industries which we have in the state. Because of that continuity, our resources did not suffer. Resource mobilization did not suffer to that extent. In fact, in financial year 2021, we had 5% additional revenue as compared to the previous financial year. And therefore, the additional expenses on account of treatment, on account of providing food security, on account of providing wage security, additional works on capital, we were able to do. I think the most important takeaway from this pandemic, post-pandemic, is it is important for the government to put the best foot forward in the face of these kinds of disasters. And given some level of mature financial planning, it is possible to do. Therefore, our learning point is that all this expenditure which has gone into providing free treatment to the people has actually given results to us. Now, the COVID situation started improving very fast. So normalcy also was able to return very fast, which in turn actually helped our revenues to come back. In fact, in the current financial year, 21-22, up to 31st of October 2021, we have earned an additional 25,000 1,000 crores of revenue on mineral resources alone. The contribution to DMF is over and above that, but on mineral royalties alone, we were able to earn 25,000 crores extra, which has actually enabled state government not only to meet the additional expenses on account of 100% free treatment for each and every COVID patient, but also keep the infrastructure capital expenses running.
At a time when everybody is talking about resource crunch, it's very heartening to hear Mr. Sharma talking about additional resources. And a key word that you used was mature management of wealth, actually resources. And that maturity is also now required, I think, in another way, the relationship between the center and the states, because COVID has presented an unprecedented situation where both states and the center, they need to be flexible in their, not only in their relationship, but also in managing the country's resources and putting it to the best welfare of the people. So in that context, I would like to ask, have you seen any change in the resource distribution, apart from the normal resource distribution, but during the pandemic, have you seen what are the kind of flexible movements, both by states and the center, to get away from that situation and help the people?
One of the most important learning points for the entire country, for all states and government of India, is that synergy is actually what gives more energy. And this cooperative federalism and cooperation between the state and central government is the key to face any natural disaster or this kind of a disaster which came out of the blue. So we worked very closely with the government of India. I can cite n number of examples, the most important being early on in the pandemic, we needed huge amounts of procurements to be done for PPE kits, for sanitizers, for essential medicines, for essential medical equipment, ventilators. It would never have been possible if both the governments were not working together day in and day out. And government of India was supplying us medicines. We had put in efficient systems to distribute those medicines. Government of India supplied us vaccines. We ensured that there is zero wastage and that every dose is accounted for and is put to use exactly as per the timetable drawn up by Government of India. We also ensured that whenever flexibility was given by Ministry of Finance, Government of India in making essential procurement on an emergency basis by relaxing most of the general financial rules, we made use of such relaxations and were able to ramp up our supplies of PPEs, medicines, essential equipment at a very fast pace. When Government of India gave us additional PSA plants, we made the civil work complete in record period of time so that those oxygen plants can come up and be used at the right moment. When Government of India gave us the ventilators, we made sure that our ICUs and our special COVID hospitals are available right in time so that those ventilators can be put to use. I'll just give you one example. I was very keenly involved with the procurement of essential items. At one point of time, we were facing tremendous shortage of cylinders. We had the oxygen. In fact, you would be aware that Odhisa was able to supply oxygen not only to its own hospitals, but to the entire country. We were working very closely with Government of India in mobilizing special rails, mobilizing special tankers. Large number of tankers had to be flown to Odhisa from various parts of the country so that we curtail the turnaround time of tankers and this oxygen can actually reach where it is required. It was traveling from Odisha to Tamil Nadu, to Kerala, to Maharashtra, to Gujarat, to Delhi, to Punjab, to Haryana. Had it not been for the close cooperation and coordination and synergy between various state governments and state government and the central government, this kind of a response we would have never been able to mount. We wanted 10,000 cylinders to be imported from China on an emergency basis. We could procure the cylinders from China. In fact, we were the first state in the country to have actually procured such large volume. But how do you fly the cylinders back? If you take the shipping route, it would have taken us 15 days. But we entered into a dialogue with Government of India and we were able to fly those cylinders in 6 hours flat. Similarly, when it came to planning for the large number of migrant workers who were returning, Odisha faced a unique challenge that a very large number of migrant workers had to come back to Odisha in a short period of time, how to enable transport for them, how to have the transport in such a manner that they travel without disease and they come back. And Odisha, for one, was a state who put into place a system where all these migrant workers were treated with respect, with dignity. They were in fact welcomed. Large pandals were put up when they were received on railway stations. Their boarding, lodging, their medical treatment, etc., were all taken care of. It is good to talk for us in synergy between state and central government, but there is a very, very important point. Even within state governments, there are layers of administrative hierarchy and public representative hierarchy which needed to be inbuilt. I'll just give you an example. Early on in the state of Odisha, we empowered all our sarpanches, declared them at par with district collectors in terms of their administrative and financial powers, and 6,000 shelters we could make ready within a period of 1 week. Otherwise, handling 8 lakh migrants returning all of a sudden would not have been possible. So this is not only between state and central government, it is also within the state, between state government, between the district administration, at the most grassroots level of the state, of the sarpanches. This empowerment of the state by relaxing the financial rules by the government of India, empowerment of states by giving additional supplies on medical by government of India, in turn, empowerment of the grassroots workers, the sarpanches, the ASHA workers, the Anganwadi Karmis by the state government. This was, we feel, we were able to actually mount this challenge to face the pandemic only because of this kind of a synergy and empowerment. This is, to my mind, the most important learning point of this pandemic.
Really amazing to hear this, what you have described about the synergy, not only between the center and the state, but also within the state, especially the reforms or the innovative ways that the government responded. I think special situation needs special measures, and Odisha has been an example of that. Coming back to Tamil Nadu, I'd like to ask Mr. Muruganandam, what we have seen in Tamil Nadu is that it's in our India Today State of the States awards, it has won the best performing state for the 4th consecutive time. Congratulations on that, and very commendable feat. But when it comes to most improved performances, where we measure the performances of last 5 years, it's not at the top, simply because I admit that when you are at the top, it's very difficult to progress, because if your base is very high, then it becomes even more difficult. But at the same time, it's also, you cannot probably rest on past laurels, and you have to start moving faster than probably many other states. So how is Tamil Nadu planning now to make that move faster? Because you're already doing good in terms of as the best performing state in the country, but you definitely, to keep pace with other states, to not let this honor slip away, you have to even move faster. So how you are planning to do that, sir?
So on the industry front, what we are doing is actually, we have come out with many innovative policies. We have come out with a new industrial policy. We have come out with an export strategy, because we want to focus on exports. A policy for attracting data centers, a policy for attracting investment in e-vehicles, and we are working on an R&D policy. So all this has actually helped us to attract a lot of investment, particularly in certain sectors. For example, in data centers. Now Chennai has become the hub for data centers. Nearly 35,000 crore of investments have come in the last 12 months in data centers alone. And on electric vehicles, electric two-wheelers, it has become a big hub, particularly Hosur and Krishnagiri, which is near Bangalore. Ola is putting up the largest two-wheeler factory in the world there. And also in electronic manufacturing, you know very well, iPhone, the entire manufacturing of iPhone, almost 2/3 in the country is done from Tamil Nadu. So these policies are helping us. We are focusing on specific sectors where we have strengths. Simultaneously, we are also working on innovations, new innovations, encouraging startups. We have got a very robust innovation policy, and We already have IIT Research Park, which is doing a lot of work on innovations. So a lot of work is being done on innovations and on startups. On agriculture front, the government has come out with a lot of new schemes. A lot of budget allocation has been done so that we are able to see growth in agriculture. We are focusing a lot on human resources, on skill training, because we feel that is one of our biggest strengths. Of course, our health infrastructure also we are improving. We are now setting up around 11 new colleges, medical colleges. And the new government has actually come out with a very innovative policy, because the children could not go to school, particularly government school children, for the last 1 year, 1.5 years because of COVID. So now the teachers are going home, reaching out to their homes, so that whatever gaps are there in the learnings among this government school children, that will be bridged. So these kind of schemes are also working. So, and we are focusing a lot on IT and technology. The government is going for a very big, massive move to bring in all online services, so that both G2C and G2B. And I'm sure within the next, say, 12 months or so, or next time when we meet in the next year's awards, definitely our pace of growth will be much higher, and this question will not be necessary.
I really like the confidence that you are certainly coming back for next year awards. That should be the confidence of every state. That should be the competitive spirit. Now, coming back to Odisha, Odisha has done remarkably well in last 5 years in terms of inclusive development, which will imply that it has done good show in poverty alleviation, Manrega, LPG coverage, houses for the urban and rural poor, jobs under Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, PDS offtake, and health insurance schemes. I got a sense of it when you said that you empowered Sarpanch, means that making the governance all inclusive and taking the untrodden path is the key. So how is Odisha doing? But this was a COVID situation, but Odisha has been doing well for last 5 years and even more than that in these parameters. So how did Odisha perform on these parameters? Means what was the key to success?
See, the key to success, I think the key to success is, the political stability and the financial stability which the state enjoys. Our Honorable Chief Minister has been leading from the front for almost more than 2 decades now. And consistently, he has been rated as the best performing Chief Minister in the country, survey after survey. And that is because of, the mantra is last person matters. Last mile is very important. Every life is precious, and there is a concept what is called 5T on which our state has been working for quite some time. It says technology, transparency, teamwork, and time leading to transformation. So all our systems, government systems, are being transformed in order to cater to the needs of the bottom of the pyramid. Whether is our improvement of schools to what is called the More School program, where high schools are being transformed, new laboratories, new classrooms, new toilets, new playgrounds, and new teaching methodologies have been implemented for government high schools in rural areas, and it is called the transformation program. I would send you one of short clips of a program which we had just last week, where 500 of the high schools spread across the state were taken up for such transformation, and the work has been completed. Whether it is the irrigation coverage, which has enabled us now to become the 3rd largest producer of rice in the country. In fact, we are now a big contributor to the country's procurement pool after Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP. And there again, the technology infusion is such that our mandis work round the clock in a very efficient manner through deployment of IT-based tools. See, skilled workforce. My senior colleague from Tamil Nadu also talked of skilled workforce from Tamil Nadu, and we have really invested a lot into skilling our workforce. Out of the top 100 ITIs of the country today, you can check from the Government of India MSD website, 11 of the top 100 ITIs are now from Odisha. The top 20 rankers this year in the All India Trade Test, 2 were from one ITI in Odhisa, and out of the total 27 were from Odhisa, and one girl child in mechanic trade and another boy in fitter trade were from Odhisa. That's the kind of investment we have made in our ITIs, in our polytechnics, in our engineering institutions. Skilled in Odhisa is now a brand. If you go to any industrial city in India, you will find the most productive, the most disciplined, and the most skilled workers actually are from Odhisa. We have recently set up a World Skills Center with collaboration with ITE of Singapore, where highly precision skills are being given to our workforce. See, all this, the basic framework is the framework of stable governance. That is, we take pride in the fact that ours is a stable polity. Industry, trade, and commerce look forward to stability of policy and consistency of policy and certainty of policy. The policy flip-flops or uncertainties do not serve trade, commerce, or industry. Because of this political stability, we have policy consistency, policy certainty. Our industrial policies, our sectoral policies in aerospace, defense, plastics, polymers, apparel, textile, garment, IT, BPO, etc. They have helped us to garner more and more investment. Odisha is a mineral-rich state. Therefore, our strength, like the strength of Tamil Nadu, is in electronics, is in auto components, in automobiles. Our strength is in minerals and metals. So today, because of this consistent work which we have done in the last 20 years, today Odisha is the single largest producer of steel, single largest producer of stainless steel, single largest producer of aluminium and alumina in the country. 40% of the steel making capacity in steel, 80% of stainless steel making capacity, and 90% of aluminium capacity in India today is in Odisha. And all our infrastructure offerings are meant to serve this need. So our ports are bulk ports: Paradip, Gopalpur, Dhamra, now Suvarnrekha and Jatadhari Mohan. Our connectivity on road and rail is meant to cater to this industrial base. Now we are also attracting investments across other sectors like polymers. Today, Indian Oil Corporation is setting up India's largest naphtha cracker complex in Odisha, which will be a 15 million tons per annum on the East Coast, which will further spur growth on textiles, technical textiles, man-made fibers, for which we have set up specialized industrial parks. So Odisha growth story is, it has layers. The first and most visible layer is that on the industrial front, in last 2 years alone, we have been able to garner investment worth 4 lakh crore. India's largest steel plant being set up by ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel at Paradip and Kendrapada was recently announced by Mr. Mittal. Similarly, India's largest aluminium complex being set up by Vedanta work is going on. I already mentioned the largest polymer complex, and so on and so forth. This gives us resource stability, financial stability, which we are inputting into the public goods like roads, rural housing, rural electrification. Today, every household, every village is electrified. Odisha has been able to complete more than 16 lakh houses under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and the work is going on very fast. We were the first state in the country to set up the Millet Mission, Odisha Millet Mission, way back in 2017, and Government of India declared it as a model program and then set up the National Millet Mission last year. In fact, the UN has picked up this idea, and 2023, if I am correct, is being celebrated as the International Millet Year going forward. So our growth story on one account is about poverty alleviation, rural infrastructure, investment in irrigation, which adds to agricultural output, and also in skilling our workforce so that our industrial setup, which we have been able to bring, gets continuously served and is able to give us more and more resources. As I mentioned earlier, the 5T, that is at the forefront. That guides our government work. Technology in every government work, transparency, teamwork, time leading to transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Actually, I would have liked to hear more from Mr. Muruganandam also, but unfortunately, I'm running out of time. I was actually talking to two seasoned bureaucrats, but the sense that I got was of two to school students, very eager to showcase their performances. And it's very encouraging to see the kind of enthusiasm that I have seen about the work that are going on in the States. And especially what I learned is this, that whether it's one of the long-standing governments or whether it's a new government, the innovation is the key, and responses according to the needs. In Tamil Nadu, teachers are going to students' home. In Odhisa, sarpanches are functioning as district magistrates. So these are the measures, innovative measures, and I'm sure there are many others which are actually driving the growth engines in Indian states. Thank you so much for joining me here in this India Today State of the States Conclave 2021. It was wonderful having you two gentlemen here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kaushik, and thanks India Today for judging Tamil Nadu as the best state again for the, I think, fourth year in the running. Thank you very much.